Golden Spiral Media presents The Blacklist Exposed.
It's a Super Bowl-sized helping of The Blacklist, and it's back with a boom. Welcome to The Blacklist Exposed. I'm Agent Troy Heinrichs.
And I'm Agent Aaron Peterson, and just as I was going into football withdrawal, The Blacklist has returned. So because of that, we're going to talk about number 21 on The Blacklist, Luther Braxton, which aired February 1st, 2015, also known as Super Bowl Sunday. Show notes and other intel for this episode of The Blacklist Exposed can be found at goldenspiralmedia.com/The Blacklist, and we offer you a new episode every Monday now. We switched our when we put the episodes out.
Yeah, with the show moving to Thursdays, we're going to be recording over the weekend. That'll give you guys some time to get your feedback in. But we felt it was important to get an episode out here on post-Super Bowl Sunday. Call it Super Monday, I guess. Should be a national holiday, I think.
Super Monday. It's Super Awesome Monday. It's special. Now, when you say, let's be clear on this, because I think some people are already confused. Like, I was just, like, I hope you guys understand, we're doing this right after the Super Bowl, right after the show actually aired. I'm still a little fuzzy on what happened in that Super Bowl. There was a lot of anger and a lot of craziness going on. But for people that aren't aware, the Blacklist has officially moved to Thursday nights now, right?
Correct. Thursdays, 8 o'clock, going up against Scandal, which if you saw...
8 o'clock Central, 9 o'clock Eastern.
Right. Yeah, and if you saw Scandal last week, they really upped the game because I think they knew they were up against the Blacklist, so it'll be an interesting bake-off between those two for the ratings.
You say a bake-off? I want to see Red having like a cupcake sale, and then what is it, Olivia? And Olivia can have, I don't know, whatever she bakes.
She drinks wine. She can... Wine, and Red can find some cheese. One of his little old ladies that sells cheese in some country he's visited recently.
Well, according to the end of this show, if Red drank wine, it would be red. Huh. Too cheesy?
You went twice there. That's good.
Twice. That was a double dip. That's what that was. Because the end of this episode made me think of Die Hard. That's how bloody it was.
Exactly. Very bloody and very interesting, too, when you think about they have this, I guess you'd call it, this prison. What did they call it in the episode? I forget.
I don't remember what they called it. Honestly, we're coming right off the episode, so it's... I don't have as much detail as I normally would. I haven't had the chance to watch the episode twice.
The only thing that I thought was really interesting about this episode, and this is not, for those that are new to our show, this is not how we usually roll, but we wanted to get something out, like we said, right away after this, because there is a part 2. So we're going to dissect this whole story in our episode next Monday, where we really go in depth with both part 1 and part 2. But we really wanted to find out, because the fulcrum was kind of the hangover from the winter finale, and that was the big thing we got this week, was actually an explanation of what the fulcrum was, and none of what we had thought it was is what it was, which I think is our par for the course, the way the Blacklist theories have been rolling.
Yeah, you can tell, and we're taking this particular episode, we're taking a lot looser than we normally do. You can tell if this was like I don't want to say rebuilding, because I don't think they rebuilt the story, but they definitely wanted to expand it to people that have never seen the show. So you could come in, you're watching the Super Bowl, you might have a hangover, it's possible, but you can't go to sleep. So you stay up, you watch TV, you see what's on. Blacklist pops up. All right, I've heard about this show, but I've never seen it. I don't have time right now to go back and watch 13 episodes or 22 episodes or whatever number there is now. What are we at? Well, I guess we're in the 30s somewhere.
Yeah, 32, 33, somewhere around there.
33. I want to watch this, but I don't want to get confused. So they made this so I think most people could come into it and actually understand what was going on. Do you agree?
I think so. I mean, there were some kind of throwbacks to what has been going on. We were absent one of our main characters. He goes by the name of Tom Keene, who was actually Lizzie's husband at one point in time, if you want to call him that. So we didn't see any of Tom Keene this evening, but we saw the rest of the group. And for those that are new to the show, basically it's an FBI task force that's off the book. Raymond Reddington's been working with all of them. And what we've found out is that, much like the opening of the show, Red, I think, turned himself in on purpose in Hong Kong. He wanted to be captured so he could get to this prison ship.
Which is interesting. I guess that's the only way you can find this prison ship, is if you actually go to jail there. You couldn't I think they rent boats now and probably choppers, maybe a plane, a couple other ways. Batman gets around pretty easy.
Well, what I found really interesting about this prison ship is that literally nobody knows about it. There's only a super secret group of people in the CIA. I mean, it's like the baddest of the bad are here, almost like it'd be its own, I guess, prison transport if you were in space. Like this would be like a lockdown facility that you could not get to unless you went through some warp hole or something.
It really reminded me of, there's a recent Sylvester Stallone movie, and I don't want to say what the movie is just because it is kind of recent, and the fact that it's kind of a spoiler, I guess, but it reminded me very much of a recent Sylvester Stallone movie.
Okay, I know where you're going with that.
Yeah, it does. And if you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about.
What I really love, though, about this ship is not so much that Luther Braxton was there as well, who apparently knows Red pretty, I guess, in detail. That ending sequence where he's like, I know about the fire, I know about the girl, and all of that conversation. This is one bad dude, and then he's got a whole team that he just basically breaks out of the prison cells. Almost look like the detention center control room from the Death Star in Episode 4.
That's an interesting way to see it, yeah. What did you think about Ron Perlman as Luther Braxton?
I think he did a good job. He was a rough and tough guy. The only thing that bothered me was he is such a big dude, and he has a really good muscular build on him. So when he landed that punch on Lizzie towards the end of the episode, the punch looked a little weak, and I don't think Lizzie would have been getting up from that, depending on how Luther's size is.
No. I think his pinky probably would have laid her out. I mean, he's a big dude. There's a reason why he played Hellboy. I thought he was great because the one of the, I wouldn't say issues because I don't really think it's an issue because I've always enjoyed the show. But one of the lesser complaints, I guess I would call it, I've had is that a lot of his foes or the people that Red has gone up against aren't nearly as formidable. You know, they just aren't as formidable. They just don't really pose a threat to me to whatever Red is doing. Here comes Ron Perlman as Luther Braxton, and he immediately has a stature. He obviously is not a dumb guy. He doesn't screw around. You know, he doesn't do a Hans Gruber. He's not talking people to death. He actually says, all right, here's what I want. Oh, you didn't give it to me? Okay, I killed somebody. Okay, I killed somebody else. You know, and he continues, and there's none of that. And to me, that makes the villain so much more interesting because he actually is somebody that I am worried could kill our hero if Red is really a hero. Yeah,
and you look back at his former nemesis, number 8, Mr. Berlin, from earlier in, or later season 1, early season 2, and even he was kind of a squirrely guy, I guess you would call it. I wouldn't call him wimpy, but he was definitely squirrelier and equal match for Red, you know, but this guy really seems like he's a step above Red in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm. Very much so. Great addition. I was really hoping he was going to be some sort of great addition to the show. Like maybe he'll have a longer arc, but it looks like his arc is going to be a couple episodes, which is normal for this show, but it's kind of a bummer because I really love Ron Perlman. Big fan of Hellboy, Sons of Anarchy, and a lot of other stuff that he's done that doesn't get as much press.
Well, he wasn't the only addition this week. We got a lot of new characters. One, Kim Goodson, a liaison to the FBI from clandestine services at the CIA, and she's got a boss man, which I don't think we caught his name at all this evening.
I know it's David Strahan.
Yes.
And that is one of my favorite character actors. Good Night and Good Luck, if you're trying to place him, Sneakers. I mean, he's that guy in a lot of movies. He's that guy.
Yeah, Alphas was probably the most recent thing I remember him in, even though season 2 ended very abruptly.
If you watch a lot of movies, and I do, I mean, you know, I do a movie podcast too. We talk about a lot of movies. Strahan comes up because he's a great character actor, and he's been in a lot of things. And I know he's that guy when he popped up in the show. Many people watch him went, "Oh, that guy," and they couldn't figure out what movie he was from. But he's a great actor.
Yeah, Whistler from Sneakers will always be burned into my head for him. But he is that guy. He seems like he is. I think we got a meeting of this secret, what do they call it? It was a blackmail file of a secret clandestine team.
Yeah.
That would basically ruin everybody if these people's information got out. They think Red has the fulcrum, this blackmail file, but Red doesn't have it. Luther's going to get it off of these servers in this prison ship because apparently the prison doubles as a hotspot for the entire government network. And now they're having this meeting, and he seems like he's the head or the lead of the group of people he was talking to. Again, no faces, all cast in shadow.
Really seems, and if you're a new fan, you won't know who I'm talking about, but hopefully you'll go back and check out the show. Really, really hope everybody does. I mean, definitely, if you've never seen the show and you're just now watching, go to Netflix. They have the whole first season. You can get caught up. But if you are a longtime watcher, which I'm sure most of you are, he kind of seems like the replacement for Alan Alda's character, who, unfortunately, he's not there anymore. He's no longer on the show for new viewers. And I wish it was still Alan Alda, but I'll take David Strahan. That's not a bad replacement.
So David Strahan, you're saying, is the new Mr. Fitch?
I'm thinking so. Doesn't it feel like that?
Well, I don't know if Mr. Fitch was really part of the group. This we were calling him the Illuminati type group in season 1, or Alliance of 12, whatever you want to call them. If you're an Alias fan, because obviously you have John Eisendrath working on the show who worked on Alias. So I didn't peg him as kind of the leader. I pegged him as a participant, or maybe a lapdog for the group, like a second in command kind of thing, to maybe this character that we met tonight.
I don't know. He was throwing orders around quite a bit. He sure seemed like he was in charge, but we'll find out. I definitely think his character is going to come into play a little bit more.
And then when he gives the order for this plane strike, is he giving that order as this agency, this secret group, or is he giving it as the agency, as like the director of the CIA to an employee?
I think the secret group. I definitely think the whole point of that was take out Red. The information must be on that boat. Red's on that boat. 2 birds, 1 stone. Take it out.
So what do you think about this boat being the central hotspot for all of the military chatter?
TV logic. That's what I think. I'm like, as soon as they said that, I'm like, what?
I like how they said it on the show. They were like, so you put the main control access point to the entire nation's defense system on a boat with the world's worst prisons. Are you stupid?
Yep. And what happens if the boat sinks? It seems like that would be a problem. It's a very convenient plot device, but you do shows like this. I got to be honest, and some people will argue this up and down. They'll say that everything has to make sense and be no, it doesn't. Sometimes you have to be able to swallow common sense to enjoy a show like this. There are moments in the Blacklist where I just say, okay, all right, you know what? You've entertained me in every other fashion. I'll let this slide no matter how dumb this sounds.
And, of course, we're doing this right after the show airs. Normally we have a segment during the podcast called Red's Rhetoric, where Red tells some pretty decent stories. One of them, he talked to Luther a little bit, but the two that I really liked this evening was the Bruno story, the cat burglar stuck in the air ducts after Lizzie actually went through the air ducts herself. Got to make you feel good.
After she pulled a McLean.
Right.
Yeah. I actually prefer the other one. Where he's talking about rising up and seeing the light. And
yeah, can he actually get back there? It was the Mexican fish, right? Adaptation story.
Yeah, it really felt like, can I ever be a hero in this story? You know what I mean? That's what I got out of it. And I really enjoyed it. I really thought that there was a sense of humanity in that. Well, the way Spader played it, at least. I don't know if necessarily that's him manipulating, because Red is a master manipulator, but it felt genuine, or at least he played it very genuinely.
Then we have Harold Cooper, who's running the FBI. Now he's kind of working with the CIA. What did you think of his character just giving up the code so easily?
He was wrong. Sorry. I was in the military, so for me, that's a big no-no. You just don't do it. You just don't negotiate, and so that's one of those, like, that's a personal thing I can't ignore, even though I probably just should. But I realize everybody in the audience would probably hate him if he didn't give it up. But really, you shouldn't give up national secrets for one person or even 3 people.
Now, is that a personal reason? Do you think we talked a little bit about how, he has a soft spot for Liz? Maybe he was supposed to take care of her after the incident 20 years ago that we learn about at the end of the episode, the fire at the house, or that all of us have known previously since season 1. Do you think it's his relationship with Red, the fact that they were friends previously and that he was helping him out at the beginning of season 2 with this Kuwait problem? What do you think? Is he doing it because of that? Because he has feelings for them?
Yeah, I think he just cares. I think he didn't want his team executed, and I think I believe he thought this would buy him an out, even though in his heart of hearts, I'm sure he knew that it wouldn't. And I think in his mind, he felt no real harm would come of it. So, let's give it a shot and see if this will buy some time. It's just the wrong way to do it. My opinion. From an actual government standpoint, it's probably the wrong way to do it. What did you think?
I think that it was a plot device for the show. I'm assuming he's doing it because he has feelings for the two of them. He doesn't want to see them die, or he needs them for some reason, maybe to complete his life, because without them, he'd go back to being kind of mopey like he was at the start of season 2. Overall, I think that he made the call that he needed to for his team, because his team's mission wasn't done yet. So you do everything you can to complete the mission. So I think that's why he gave up the code. But I don't think that it was the right decision. I think I would have let the ship sink.
Same here. I hate to say it, but I would. Unless you absolutely need Brad or whoever on that boat, and you can justify it to yourself. I mean, it just otherwise, I don't agree with. I don't agree with negotiating with terrorists. I've watched too many episodes of 24. I think I would have called Jack Bauer. Can he come on an NBC show? Is that against the rules?
Maybe he was trapped in that prison. Maybe it's kind of a holdover until he goes to Russia.
Ooh, I got it. Like Russia sold him out.
Totally.
I like it.
Now we had the hanging scene with Wrestler and Samar and the other guy. What did you think of that as they were kind of hung up to slaughter as she's talking about Allah and trying to reason with the terrorist?
I love that, except I really thought one of them was going to die because they were hanging there, and you're trying to basically rebuild the show. Usually when this kind of thing happens, you get some shock value. And I kind of think the show needed that a little realism with the situation to really push new viewers and go, wow, this is why I got to watch this, because I don't know what's going to happen every minute. And I really think that with Samar and Wrestler both strung up and awaiting death, essentially, I just think it was an opportune time to show that the show pulls no punches. And
I was kind of in that same boat. I was thinking that as she's negotiating, talking about their faith and their beliefs, that he was going to just say, I'm done with you and hang Samar, because I don't know if we need her anymore since she's kind of vindicated herself from her past experience. We won't give anything away for those that are new, but just go back to the later part of season 2 and you'll see where Samar's part of the story fits in. And I thought that they were going to do that. I thought they were going to take her out just because it needs that. Like if you go back to episode 1 of the Blacklist, there was a moment where Lizzie does something to Reddington that nobody saw coming. And that was like, holy crap, that's why I'm watching this show. And I was expecting some moment like that this evening. And I don't think they delivered this evening. It wasn't very super,
Not in that respect. I thought it was a great episode.
Yeah.
It's just not in what you're talking about. I agree. And I do want to clarify for longtime listeners especially, this is the only episode we're going to be respectful of new listeners. After this episode, like when we come back for the next episode for the conclusion of the 2-parter, it's spoiler central. So I mean, all bets are off, and we're back in it. We're just trying to be respectful, just because there probably are some people that have never listened before, and we're still talking about the episode. We're just kind of leaving some of the past show details out.
So then you had at the end of the episode, Red basically goes all gung ho to go save Lizzie from Luther after the Boilermaker happens. I don't know if you were partaking in any Boilermakers yourself this evening there, Aaron, with your party.
I had a couple. Yeah, I had a couple.
But I thought that was a great concept to leave the two of them behind to work together in their relationship that they've had over the course of the season to do this boiler thing. But you knew it wasn't going to pan out. And then the explosion happens, and then we get the shock value of, oh my gosh, Red might be dead.
I had more shock value from, oh, look, we're almost going to tell her what's really going on again. Oh, look, he almost told her what was really going on once again. That needs to stop. I love this show. But you can't do that every single episode without beginning to frustrate your audience. So we know that plot is dangling, and we know you're going to keep it dangling for a while. Don't do it every episode. Now, I realize you got to do it for this one to kind of new people you're trying to get. But, man, they got to let off that gas a little bit because it's getting a little too much.
So how did Luther connect that she was the girl in the house? Did you think that we saw the scar on her hand, but the way she's holding the gun at Luther Can he see the scar on her hand and put the two and two together, or did he just kind of assume?
It had to be, because it was something in the way that she was holding the gun, and she was a little shaky, wasn't she?
A little bit.
I don't know how that played into it, but it's definitely something I'm going to rewatch the episode before we watch the conclusion, and I'm hoping to get a little bit more detail. Hopefully, if you guys have some, that's why we're throwing this out here, is we'd love to get some of your input on some of this stuff. What do you think caused him to identify Lizzie as that girl? We don't even really know what that means, but what really caused him to identify that? And
did she identify it herself as she's watching Luther's expression? Is she going like, holy crap, wait a minute.
Mm-hmm.
What's going on here? Red? What's he talking about?
Great question. And before we got to that point, Red was badass getting in that room.
Oh, totally.
Just grabbing a shotgun and going to town, and then he's pulling pistols, and because you never really see him do anything. And it's funny because Luther makes that statement about how you're always, do you even drive, that sort of thing. And I've had that moment throughout the show where we see him talk a lot, but you don't really see him do a lot. He usually manipulates other people into doing his bidding. We don't get to see him be that badass very often. And he was he was rocking it.
Yeah, I need that shotgun. Here you go. Blam. Best line of the night, I think.
Just took him out, left and right.
And that was the Brothers Bright singing Blood on My Name. What a great apropos title. Because as Red's talking about these Mexican fish that adapt, how much blood does Red have on his name in his quest to basically get to the end of what happened at this house fire 20 years ago?
Yeah. And I'm sure we'll get a little bit more as it goes. As a fan, you just have to be happy that at least we know what the fulcrum is, because I was really thinking that it was going to be teased for the rest of the season. Didn't you?
Absolutely. But at least we know they made it very clear that the fulcrum was not what was on the servers. It was information that could lead to the location of the fulcrum, which we assume is somewhere in the safe in St. Petersburg from the finale before Christmas. Which
she cannot get into without Lizzie. Or cannot get, whatever.
I agree with you. I think that's the key.
Yep.
They both need to be there to unlock it with their father-daughter or some other lock-it type thing.
By the way, when he was down and looked like he's dead and everything else, and she's giving him, doing the CPR, I was just waiting. I'm like, does she do mouth-to-mouth here? Is this really close to where it gets awkward? I don't know where we should be sitting with this as an audience.
Yeah, she never did open up the airway. Remember, you got to do your ABCs, airway, breathing, circulation.
Well, she's a modern era woman, because actually CPR has gotten away from that. So obviously she took the classes. But I was just waiting. I'm like, I think she's going to go down from mouth to mouth, and they're going to have to stop her before she gets there, because people don't know. Are they father and daughter? What exactly is the deal?
Or creepy uncle, as we've always said.
Or creepy uncle, exactly.
Well, I know the shippers would have rejoiced if that would have happened, but alas, no mouth-to-mouth happening this week.
Yeah, no Dembe either. I'm really bummed. No Dembe.
Yeah, that was really shocking. I was surprised that we didn't actually see Dembe at least helping out, or at least coming to. I would have expected Dembe to come to the post office and say, hey, this is what's really going on. Can you help us out? And inform him rather than letting Red do it on his own. Because why would Red try to do this on his own except to protect Liz? I
was very disappointed in that, because, obviously I love Dembe. I just like the character, and we've gotten a little bit more of him lately, but this seemed like a very proper episode for him to be in. But, there's only so much room and so much show that they can have.
There's only so much ship and so many places to hide. Maybe Tom was actually hanging out down below deck or something.
I think they kept him out intentionally.
I think so too.
Yeah, I think because of the Super Bowl thing, and they're trying to reintroduce the show, that would be a lot of confusion that a new audience doesn't need. That's something where they don't really have to explain it all, because they kind of already dealt with that storyline. Now, I'm not saying it can't come up again, but they have kind of already dealt with it.
Right, because at the end of the day, the story is about Raymond Reddington. Why did he go off the grid 20 years ago and turn to a life of crime? This house fire, Liz's involvement with that house fire. And then, of course, why is he back, and why does he need Liz in order to find out about this group that knows about the house fire? I think that's really what the core of the story is. And we got all of that just in that kind of 1 minute Luther realization at the end, which was great for the new people coming on board.
Absolutely. Great. What do you want people to write in and answer for us?
Yeah, so we do a little thing called the profile question of the week for the new people, and you guys will have more time, obviously, to do that for the second half of season 2, as we will record on Saturdays with the show airing on Thursday. So they'll get you Thursday night, Friday, a little bit on Saturday morning to get those answers into our question. So our profiling question of the week this week is, how do you think this episode ends? I mean, 2 missiles just struck basically the room, or at least they made it look like the 2 missiles struck the room that they were standing in. So how the heck do these people get off the boat is going to be my first question. So how do you think this ends? You can contact us a bunch of different ways, but the easiest way is goldenspiralmedia.com/feedback, and you can just leave your response there.
You want to know my guess?
Shoot.
They're dead. They're dead. The whole time they've actually been dead, and they're on an island. And there's a smoke monster. We'll just let you guess the rest.
Oh, that's a good one. No answers even in that show, I tell you.
Exactly. I'm really looking forward to what people think. And especially, I really want to hear from, if you're someone that had never actually watched the show before, I'm curious if you got enough from this episode to keep you interested, or if it just confused the hell out of you. Because it's easy for me to say, I think there was enough. I've been watching the show since day one. I really want to hear somebody who's actually never watched it before. So be sure to email us at our email address and let us know.
Yeah, that'd be great. I'm actually curious on both fronts. New people, what did you think? Are you going to stick around? And returning people, did you think it was enough of what you were expecting after the long hiatus? And then thirdly, do you think it was big enough for Super Bowl, or do you think it needed to be bigger?
On that one, what do you think it was enough?
I was expecting bigger, just a little bit. I mean, there was enough explosions, enough fun stuff. I was just expecting a little bit more because it's after the Super Bowl, so many people watching. I was expecting, like you said, like that shock moment, and we just didn't get that shock moment tonight. And maybe that would have turned off new viewers too. I don't know. Yeah,
it's true. I mean, a new viewer wouldn't be invested in those characters getting killed, I guess. So, maybe it was an interesting way to introduce those characters to new people.
We'll keep it short tonight since everybody is coming off that Super Bowl hangover fun.
I still am. I definitely am. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and the Blacklist hangover too, because it had to be on so late because everybody has to kiss the trophy and Kurt Warner's feet as they came down the aisle while we're waiting for the show to start.
I felt so bad for Troy because he's got to see. You guys don't know behind the scenes, but Troy has to edit it and put it together and get it on the air so you guys can listen to it. And that was the longest walk I've ever seen. And the whole time I'm like, Troy is just wanting to punch Kurt Warner in the face right now.
Totally.
What a game, though, huh?
Good game.
An exciting game.
Yeah, NBC is really pulling out the stops. I thought the halftime show was really good. They couldn't have asked for better except for the fight at the end. So
yeah, it was a little ridiculous.
Yeah, what are you going to do? Football is football, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's just, sore sports, I guess, at the end. But it ended up, it was a good game. Both teams played very hard.
Well, again, as a reminder, Thursday nights, 9 Eastern, 8 Central is the new home of the Blacklist for the rest of the season. We will record on Saturdays, put the show out on Monday morning, maybe Sunday afternoon, depending when I get it edited up.
Basically, it will be up. By the time you're going to work Monday morning, it will be there. Right?
Exactly. You got it. Yeah, nice commute in, nice and short. Listen to us. It'll be great. We do want to let you know that we are up for trying to get nominated for what's called a podcast award also. So you can head on over to goldenspiralmedia.com/podcast awards, and we're up for the entertainment category. So you want to be sure to go over there. And then as you're nominating us for the Blacklist Exposed, you can also nominate Aaron's show, The Hollywood Outsider, over in the movies and film category as well.
And Resurrection Revealed, which is Troy's other show, for People's Choice.
Absolutely. It'll be great. Hopefully we can all get nominated. And then we'll come back to you guys probably later, February, March, for when the voting process begins. Again, goldenspiralmedia.com/podcast awards.
But that window is closing rapidly. So if you'd like to vote and help us out, please do it ASAP. Because I believe it's a couple days. It's very early February that the voting ends. It may be the 2nd or 3rd or up to the 6th. They might have changed it. But just double check. Go to podcastawards.com. And we're going for Best in Entertainment category. You can only vote for one show in each category, so please don't vote for us in several. But thanks if you do. That's going to conclude this episode. Be sure to follow us on Twitter this season at The Blacklist GSM. We live tweet during the East Coast feed, And we will use the show's hashtag, The Blacklist. We also have a Facebook group. Just search for The Blacklist Exposed and join us for the fun. Also, the website will have all the episode intel and analysis, as well as links to subscribe to the feed in iTunes and Stitcher. That way you don't miss an episode. Visit goldenspiralmedia.com/The Blacklist for details.
Intel from you is what we want, and you can do that a number of ways. First, you can call our phone number at +1 304 837 2278. Again, that's 1-304-837-2278. If talking on your phone's not that thing, we actually have a way that you can record your voice right from your smartphone or your computer. You can record an MP3 voice just using our send feedback button on the website. Again, goldenspiralmedia.com/The Blacklist.
And as you leave your feedback, be sure to mention The Blacklist Exposed, and a big thank you for listening this week. Don't forget to answer our profiling question of the week. How do you think this episode ends, this two-part conclusion? We're going to take your predictions for part 2, and then we're going to see who was right or wrong next week.
Yeah, I'd love to see if someone actually nails it in the head, puts this thing to pasture, any other kind of synonyms or phrases you can think of. Exactly.
Somebody did.
Well, until next time, I am Agent Troy Heinritz. You can follow me on Twitter at Troy Heinritz for my personal account. And again, if you're a fan of Resurrection on ABC, which just concluded its second season, you can listen to me on that podcast. Or if you're a fan of Under the Dome on CBS coming back this summer, you can check out both of those over at the website noodle.mx.
And I'm Agent Aaron Peterson. You can find me talking about movies and TV on the Hollywood Outsider podcast. That's available at thehollywoodoutsider.com. Also on Twitter at H_outsider. And keep in mind, we're a more jovial type podcast, so there are jokes aplenty in that show. Or we think they're jokes. We're not sure. Be sure to subscribe, submit your feedback, but most importantly, keep yourself off of
The Blacklist.
The Blacklist Exposed is a Golden Spiral Media production, copyright 2015. Find more of our great podcasts at goldenspiralmedia.com/podcasts.